All right, so I have been asked to talk a little bit about our products and our operations. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about a little bit of the why we do what we do. So my screen, I hope, is visible. We get focused on different things because we are humans. We're susceptible to all kinds of biases. We don't always focus on the things that are the most important. In Unicity, though, we've thought deeply over a number of years, and we've tried to focus on the things where we feel like we can have the biggest impact. And we're looking at health challenges for people. We want to focus on the things that don't just make the most noise, but actually change the most lives. So rather than focusing on things that could kill us, hippos and elephants are both, dangerous, plane accidents. We hear about them in the news. And I think in Singapore, lightning strikes are the number one natural disaster cause of death. Dogs and terrorists are both equally dangerous, but none of these are the things that are going to get most of us on this call. Most of us in the world today are going to be impacted primarily by the things that we do to ourselves. And those are lifestyle issues. We have problems of too much rather than too little today. If you look at the causes of death around the world, those cardiovascular diseases that are highlighted here on the right, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, heart disease, are more deadly than everything else combined. That includes COVID for right now. These are the things that are really having a big impact, and we want to stay focused on those. That's been our mission. The reason why these have been so damaging is because creating these problems has been very, very profitable. And I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. It really doesn't have to be a conspiracy, because the things that people buy when they're busy, when they're stressed, when they don't know much about nutrition, those are the companies that have done very well. It's kind of a survival of the fittest. And it's become a $3.5 trillion industry to produce these different flavors of sugar, is essentially what they are. They're very cheap to make, they have long shelf life, and they have terrible consequences for our health. And we've made it our mission to both be the solution and to benefit from this by creating a solution that adds value to people's lives, to make their lives better. So the question is, obviously, how are we, Unicity, going to succeed at this huge problem where governments and organizations all over the world, charismatic people, have failed? It's a good question. It's valid. The reason is that we have you. So at Unicity, we're a bit of like a nanotech self-replicating machine. So it's not a top-down approach. It's an approach where each one of us can affect the lives of others, and they can continue to affect it. It becomes bigger and more powerful the farther we go. It's a little bit like, in the last few months, we've all learned a lot about virology, and we know that the R naught factor, each person that's infected infects, 2 to 3 people with COVID. And because of that, it becomes exponential growth. And we're kind of in the same mechanism, but on the good side rather than the bad side. So that's why we're able to do something. We're able to take a big chunk out of this problem where so many other approaches have failed. And we've made a good start. I think we are very geographically well positioned. We're in, I'm not sure how many countries, to be honest. We have offices in 34 countries, and we support much more than that, much more than the countries on this map. It's just a beginning, though, for us. We set a goal, for example, a few years ago to supply BioSlife to 1 out of every 1,000 people in South Korea. And to date, we have not reached that yet, but we've made some good progress towards it. We're getting closer, and we're having fun along the way. So who is Unicity? We are a leader in proven nutritional solutions and education for metabolic health, and the two go together. We have proven levels of effective ingredients in our products, and we have people who are able to teach and follow up and make sure that those products are effective in real people's lives. We have a long reputation, and you know the Lindy effect, which is the phenomenon that something that's been around for a long time is the thing that is likely to be around for much longer. And we've stood the test of time already. And we are primarily a company that is focused on its distributors. We love and trust the distributors. We are the owner of the company was one of the biggest distributors. That's where our roots are. And we keep learning and improving. We are definitely not perfect, and we are adding new skills and knowledges all the time. Now, right now we're in the midst of a global recession. A lot of companies have been shaken and knocked off their feet by the dramatic changes in supply and demand in just the last few months. One thing that I can tell you that we've seen when we look back at Unicity's history over the last 20, 30 years is that during recessions and times of economic uncertainty, we tend to grow faster than we do during the boom times. That's because I think that when things are uncertain, people start to look for other sources of income. Another thing is that we sell consumable products. These are not luxury items. So when people start to get hit in their wallet, we are one of the last things that people take out of their spending. So those two things make us very stable and almost counter-cyclical in recessions. Of course, entrepreneurship through Unicity, it has a very low barrier to entry. It's very low risk compared to other methods of starting a business. There's great opportunities. Sam has worked a lot on this for personal and skill development, which if you are uncertain about your future, the number one thing you need to do is invest in yourself to make yourself a better investment for others. Now, I mentioned the pandemic and the issues that are going on in the world right now. When this started I think we started hearing about it in Singapore in mid-January, and it seemed like it was going to be a very big deal. We made a strategic decision to increase our purchases globally because we didn't know what was going to happen in supply chains and shipping. We have a lot of cross-border transit because of where we produce and where we sell our products. So we doubled up our inventory, and in hindsight, that's been a very good decision. It's been the opposite of what a lot of companies have done, and we've been rewarded for that. The main reason is we want to have, of course, a steady supply of product, and we don't want to be in a rush if we can avoid it because, like Sam mentioned, quality is super important for us. We've added a lot of controls in our production and logistics facilities. We're taking temperatures 3 and 4 times a day, not only as required by governments, but very much in addition to, because we want to, one, avoid any infection or problems with our products. And also we want to avoid any slowdowns or interruptions in the production. Fortunately, all of our manufacturing and logistics have all been deemed essential businesses so far, and we haven't had any shutdowns except for about 2 weeks in Singapore. Our internal warehouse was deemed non-essential, but after some lobbying, it was opened back up again without any interruptions. Now, we have a lot of internal manufacturing, and this is pretty unique in our sales channel. And this is exactly the kind of reason that we have this. I don't like to talk bad about our competition, but a lot of them are basically marketing companies only. They outsource all the development of products, all the research, they outsource the production, they outsource the delivery. It's basically a drop shipping model where they will stir up some demand for a product, and then they'll go to Alibaba and order the product and ship it to people. And that's not how we do things at all. We have a research and development team in-house, which we've always done. And we develop the products from the very start, even sourcing the agricultural, the botanicals from farms directly, all the way through until the production. That's a lot more expensive than outsourcing those things, especially when we have supply surges where we have to react very fast. We have to have excess capacity. But the plus side is that when we have all these crazy things going on, we have our own internal capacity and we don't have to wait in anybody's queue. We can produce right away and we can control our own fate. So my commitment to you and our commitment is that we'll continue to work hard to avoid any product availability interruptions. We do have a really strong team in operations. Some of them are on the call tonight in Malaysia and Singapore and Indonesia. They're like ninjas. We've had so many issues in the last couple months, and with flights being canceled. I think Singapore and Emirates, that both of these airlines we ship a lot on, and they've canceled 97% of their flights. A lot of changes with warehousing and sea freight, and our operations team has been really fantastic in how fast they've found solutions to problems, and when things went haywire, they found solutions and other ways to work around. We've shipped a lot of product on passenger flights that were completely empty. Not a single passenger on them, but they're still flying these flights because they can fill it up with freight, sometimes stacking it on the seats. Our research and development team continues to work and continues to develop new products in spite of all this, and we're going to have a good announcement pretty soon. I just found out a couple days ago we have a new scientist. They'll be joining, not on our advisory board, but directly in the company, which I can announce pretty soon. Unfortunately, not right now. We have completed 67 studies, 5 are in progress, and we still have more products in the PDR than any other company in our space. Happy to announce that. And on top of all that, we have 0 debt. And what that means a couple of things. One, we don't have to ask permission from banks or from analysts for the decisions we make. If you have a lot of debt, the bank has to approve everything you do. And frankly, the bank wouldn't approve a lot of the things that we do because it's not the most tax efficient or the most financially efficient things. But we have a longer term view, we believe, than most banks would have. So we take our fate in our own hands when we make our own decisions. Another thing is that it communicates where the owner's mindset is. If they wanted to take a lot of money out of the company, that would show what their long-term plan is, and that hasn't been the case here. They are reinvesting heavily because they believe in the future Unicity is going to continue to grow, and that's their commitment to the company. It also means that had we a need to borrow, we could. And if we grow rapidly, that's on the table for us. So it's keeping our powder dry. So that's most of my presentation. Our commitment is to you, the distributors. We trust you and we're grateful for what you do. And our commitment is to do everything we can to support our end of the bargain, to make things efficiently, better, faster, and with higher quality. Now, I can't share that because let's see, I have something better. I happen to be in that new facility that I briefly showed you. So we're going to have a little tour. So let me just walk down. I'm in the office right now. Nice mountain view. Sorry, I was a little far away from the actual production area. Get there soon. Okay, so it's still under construction. Should be completed in a couple weeks. This is the washroom where everybody coming into the facility will get wash their hands, feet, change shoes, change into the gowning area. I think that's what it's called. And then we come in here to the main production floor. Let's see. In here, this is the powder blending room here. So this is where we will blend the powders. Let's see, some lights on in here. So blend powders and lower it here. Encapsulation is down in these two rooms. It's equipment washing room. Powder packaging is down there. And then if we come down here a little bit, this is the big packaging facility. So this is where we would package things like chlorophyll or life fiber or Bio's Life. So it's all GMP, negative air pressure, rounded corners, all the state-of-the-art equipment, metal detector, everything, everything. Spared no expense. This is our third manufacturing facility that's directly controlled by us. This is a warehouse just for the finished good and materials. So that is a Unicity Global Manufacturing 3, I think is what we're calling it, and expected to be online in just a couple of weeks. And we'll start producing products here to ship all over the world. So,
go ahead, take out the AirPods. So, we are very grateful. We're some of the first people to get a tour of this new facility. First time here as well, actually. And it's very impressive to see all this and see the quality of where things are made and the question, kind of answering a lot of questions of what's behind the scenes with Unicity and where do the products come from. But right now, I'd like to give time for some questions. And so we're going to run back up to where the computer is to be able to look at the questions that come in on the chat. So if you have questions for Dan regarding Unicity, we'll take a few minutes to work through those, see how many of them we can answer in the time that we have. If we don't get to your question, please don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. Our service team, me, our product managers, our product trainers, or to our country managers. But on that note, let's look at some of these questions. Oh, well, so far there's only one question, and it's been answered already by Mike. But here's a question from Yi Seng Yao. Please, can you share a bit about the product pipeline / roadmap of Unicity?
Pipeline, how does it work is it can work in a couple of different ways. So we have new products that come to us as technology push, as it's termed. So that's where we come up with a new ingredient, or we find a new ingredient or a technology, and then we around that ingredient. So that would be something like the Unicity is one of those, where we found this fantastic yerba mate extract and built a product around it. There's other products where we have an idea for a product that we want to develop, and then we go and do the research and build a product around that. Once it's through the research and development and been validated, we make some samples. We do tests with that. We make a pilot batch at a facility here. One of the great things about having our own internal facilities is that we can make pilot batches without sharing the information and the intellectual property with third-party vendors. So we can keep all of that completely secret and to ourselves until we're ready to file patents. Patent was just granted a few weeks ago for the Omega Resolve, for example. So we're able to keep that internal and not share it until we're ready to go into full production. So that's a little bit about I can't talk much about the product pipeline we have right now. We have about 37 products that are in the pipeline. Not all of those will be launched. We have a lot of products that we have a lot of bad ideas as well as good ideas, and we try to weed those out before we get to the launch. A lot of the research and development team is focused on our existing products, either continuing to improve them or continuing to validate those products.
All right. So another question that we've got is, what's the capacity of this new facility?
That's a good question. So this facility is primarily for powder blending. So powder blending, we have a ton of capacity. We can basically make all of the powders that we sell around the world right now. So what we will be doing here is primarily blending powders, and then we will either package those or we will send them to some of our other facilities like the one in Korea and Vietnam to be packaged into the final good.
And then another question was, are Unicity products considered organic?
So organic is a term that has specific legal guidelines, and it varies from place to place. Our focus has never been on getting a specific tagline for the product, whether it be organic or any of the other ones. Our focus is on the quality. So I can say some of our products are organic, a lot of them are, but we haven't focused on getting that, I guess, branding all the time, because it means a different thing in a different place. It constricts us in terms of what we can use.
And then another question, this one's from Audrey Chow. Is Unicity still a leader or the leader in metabolic health today?
Yes.
Yep.
Easy question. Yes, we are. I think that our products do something very simple. We've had this epidemic of simple carbohydrate snacks and meals. What's happened is that companies, in order to extend shelf life, make things cheaper and more palatable, have taken fiber and protein out of their products, because once you just have basically simple sugars, it's very stable. You can put it on the shelf packaged for years and years. Also, we tend to prefer those because I think, evolutionarily, when we get a bit of sugar, which is not very common in nature, we tend to want to eat all of it. So what we have done is basically the reverse of that. We have our Bios Life products, which are a fiber matrix supplement that is fine-tuned to reduce the glycemic impact of foods and to nourish the microbiome, as well as our other products. So we're basically putting back in what modern ultra-processed foods have taken out.
So we'll do one more question from here on the chat, and then I actually have a question myself that I'd like to ask Daniel. But the question from here, from Grace Ho, she actually has two, and I'm kind of curious about both of them. So maybe we'll cover them both. But first one is about the Unicity skincare. So she asks, how does Unicity position itself in terms of skincare? And how confident is the company on the efficacy of the skincare range?
Okay, maybe this is a question that I would normally refer to one of our product specialists or scientists on that, because I'm not an expert on that. I do know that most of skin health is actually from things that we eat, our nutrition, more of it than from what we actually topically apply to the skin. But I'll refer that to, I think we'll follow up with that from somebody who probably knows more than me. One thing I'm sure about is that I don't know everything, and we're happy to have a lot of experts on the team.
Yeah, and that's actually a great point, because we haven't yet announced our schedule for the Simba product trainings for July, but in the next week or two, when we do announce that, you'll see that one of those is going to be very focused on healthcare, or on skincare, sorry. And so that'll be a great time. We'll get really into that topic and look at how do we take care of our skin, both from the inside and the out. And so the other question that Grace had, though, this is also another tough one. but I'm putting Dan on the spot because I'm curious about his answer. And yeah, so the question is, why are Unicity products still using fructose, maltodextrin, and other kinds of sugar instead of just stevia?
That is a great question. And part of the answer to that is in the map that I showed at the beginning of my presentation. So when we're operating in more than 40 plus jurisdictions, changing anything is a long process. We have been actively taking out some of the excess sugars from our products. It's a balancing act though, because most of the time the amount of fructose or sugar in there is very, very small in terms of the diet. The other thing is that the number one thing that will make a product less effective is if people don't take it. So it's a little bit of a balancing act. We want it to be palatable enough for people to take it and also be as healthy as possible. So while we're removing those things, the amount of, say, maltodextrin in some of our products is so tiny, 1 or 2 grams per day, that it's negligible. So while we will work to take that out, it will be a process, and we're not very concerned about negative impacts in the short term.
All right, so then my question that I had for Dan before we wrap up this session was, right, he's told us a lot about why Unicity for many of us, and I wanted to position the question directly to him. Right, he's invested a lot of his own time, years, into Unicity, and so I would just like to hear his own personal opinion on why. Why does he choose Unicity? Why has he invested so much of his life into it?
Okay, thanks, Sam. The reason is about leverage. It's about what I can do to have the most impact. And Unicity is a company that is not only in the right direction, but it's willing to try things and to do things that other companies aren't willing to do. It's a company where we collectively on this call, we're in the driver's seat on what happens and what we make of it. It's given us a lot of freedom. Previously, I was a design engineer with a Boeing Corporation, and that is over 150,000 employees. I was one engineer. You have a very small impact and a small number of things that you can touch on any given thing. I was at that time responsible for some of the windscreen configurations on 747s. It's a very narrow scope, but what we're dealing with here is people's lives, not only their health, but also their livelihood and their ability to develop and try new things and grow skills. It's really inspiring. And I think that sometimes when I feel, stressed and kind of beaten down, interacting with some of the people who are doing awesome things, it's really inspiring and it lifts me up. It's a big motivation. So that would be the number one reason. Number two reason is probably the employee purchase that I'm able to get Unimate, which I need in order to survive, as well as the other products. It's kind of interesting. We as an employee, employees come and go, as you know. But one thing I've noticed is that all of our employees, no matter what happens, if we have to let them go for some reason, or if they move on to another opportunity, they all ask, can I still continue to order products? Anyway, I think it's a good validation of both products and opportunity is why I'm here.
Thank you very much, Dan, for answering so many questions, for sharing us, for showing the facility. And a lot of you have probably noticed on these product trainings each week that we don't usually take up the whole hour that we have. And today's is actually going to be particularly short. We barely covered half an hour. And I want to talk about why that is real quick as we finish up. The reason that we don't fill up the whole hour is because you're here to get value. And we're here to provide the value. And once we do that, right, we all have lives to get back to. I think it's very important to remember that in all areas, right? If we want to make other people's lives better, we want to be able to provide that and help them use that in their life. And so the information you get from these seminars, we want it to make an impact in your life. And the products that are provided by Unicity are designed to make an impact in your life, but not to become your life. All right, these are tools that you can take to make your own life better, to help you enjoy the things in your day-to-day, your family, your friends, your careers, your hobbies and passions. And so the same goes with the knowledge that we gain in these trainings. Right? Come to it, learn, and use it to make your own day more enjoyable. And so we hope that we continue to fulfill with this, and that today has been one of those that you'll be able to walk away from today and feel like, hey, I'm better equipped to help people know how to make that decision. But on that note, thank you everyone for your time. If we didn't get to all of your questions, I apologize for that, but a lot of them are better answered directly. And so please reach out, send those questions to us, and give us a chance to take the time to answer them, and we will see you all next week. But, oh, and don't miss next week, because McKenna Myler will be teaching us on how to create and design an environment for your success so that you get the most benefit from the Unicity products to build your health up. But thank you again for everyone, and we will see you in a week, if not sooner, on another call.
Thank you.